Hello and welcome. What started off as an investigation into an illegal investor scheme by the Sahara business group has now escalated, with both SEBI, the market regulator, and the latest, the Himachal High Court, asking for an investigation by the Enforcement Directorate into the more serious charge of money laundering. Tonight on Truth versus Hype, is the high-profile sprawling Sahara business group guilty of running chit funds as a front for black money? Or, as Sahara claims, is it simply helping millions of those who have no access to formal banking, and therefore they're being victimized by India's regulators and enforcement agencies? At the outset, we'd like to clarify that Sahara refused to give us either interviews or respond to our detailed questionnaires. Instead, we were sent this pamphlet by way of explanation, which only partially contains information to queries raised. For the rest, we had to recourse to Sahara's ads and public statements, and also an interview with Sahara's lawyer.
Sahara said that this was a private placement of bonds meant for its workers, its employees and their families. SEBI argued that this was a public issue that should be regulated. The Supreme Court ruled against Sahara and ordered it to give SEBI the money so that it could in turn refund the investors.
From the time of that order, Sahara's responses have led SEBI and now other enforcement agencies to suspect that they might be investigating more than just an illegal investor scheme. Not long after the order, Sahara made a startling claim that they've repaid almost all the money, 20,000 crores, back to the investors in just a few months, eliciting this remark from the SEBI chief.
There is a famous case, I need not name it, where a particular company has claimed that it has refunded more than 20,000 crores to so-called investors, out of which more than 90% has been returned in cash. I would like all of you to ponder and think how feasible, how credible this story can be.
Sahara says the proof is in the 5 crore documents sent in 127 trucks to SEBI headquarters.
SEBI says it's a claim which is almost impossible to verify. They've kept the documents at this warehouse in Navi Mumbai, where they are being studied by a group of 45 to 50 people with 80 scanning machines. But they say that the material has been sent in an almost incomprehensible way, with the names of the depositors in one box and their refund vouchers in another box, as if to deliberately make the task of verification even more difficult.
As far as the furnishing of documents is concerned, it is SEBI's stand that the documents given to us are hopelessly mixed up and makes it virtually impossible to find out what has been collected, what has been refunded and so on.
We totally reject that contention, and we feel that the grounds put forward by SEBI for rejecting en masse completely the entire lot of the documents which we sent is manifestly untenable. And the allegation which it has made that we have separated the redemption voucher from the application form also does not stand any scrutiny at all.
When SEBI wrote to 20,000 sample depositors asking them to apply for a refund, only 68 wrote back, less than 1%.
The details of those 20,000 investors have not been given to us. Earlier, they did give us details with regard to some investors who they said have a complaint with regard to non-redemption of the deposits or investments to them. We asked them for details, we wrote letters to them, but SEBI has chosen to completely ignore and disregard the letters sent by Sahara.
Sahara has in its ads claimed that its depositors are low-income folk with no fixed address. But a sample of the names and addresses of Sahara investors submitted to SEBI do not appear complete or genuine, further confirmed on the ground by our reporters.
ये पानीपत का सैनी मोहल्ले का चौक है, जहाँ पर हम खड़े हैं, वार्ड नंबर 12, मकान नंबर 277। यहाँ आसपास हमने पूरी जानकारी जांच कर ली है। रणधीर सिंह नाम का कोई भी आदमी यहाँ पर नहीं रह रहा है।
मिली जानकारी के अनुसार संजय रायकवाल उज्जैन के 48 शीतला माता कचेरी में रहते हैं, लेकिन हमें ऐसी कोई जगह मिली ही नहीं।
इस वक्त खड़े हैं हम नाभा की इंदिरा कॉलोनी इलाके में, जहां मकान नंबर्स की शुरुआत 251 से होती है। कुल घर यहां पे 25 हैं और 3 नंबर मकान इस इलाके में कोई भी नहीं है।
Even if these were exceptions, the possibility of non-existent depositors raised alarm bells that if not all, some of the money might be laundered, raising questions as to whether Sahara has any genuine depositors at all. Look in any of the small towns of the Hindi heartland and our reporters would find those like Indu, a tea stall owner in Varanasi, who have trusted Sahara with their meager earnings.
वही सहारा में जमा करते हैं। अरे साल भर से कम में हुआ साल से, और एक बार जमा किए तो मिल गया था, या दूसरा चला रही हूँ और शादी करने के लिए लड़की तैयार है, 22 साल की हो गई है।
All details written in a register with no formal record or description of the scheme.
170। नहीं बताए हैं तो जरूर कि इतने में इतना मिलेगा, इसमें इतना मिलेगा, मगर हमको इस वक्त पढ़े लिखे तो है नहीं, हमको याद नहीं है।
This might to some extent validate Sahara's claims of having a genuine pool of investors made up of the very poor. But it also shows how vulnerable they are when it comes to Sahara's regulatory battles, of which they have no information.
Like Surendra Sinha, who subscribed to one of the schemes called Adobe bonds, now banned by SEBI. He says he's not been refunded but made to switch to a new scheme called Q Shop.
सहारा बैंक में कुछ राशि अवार्ड बॉन्ड में जमा किए थे। वो राशि पहले वो डॉक्यूमेंट अवार्ड का डॉक्यूमेंट दिया था और अब वो डॉक्यूमेंट वापस ले लिया और क्यू बॉन्ड का क्यू शॉप का थमा दिया।
Q shops like this one being inaugurated in Allahabad are Sahara's entry into retail.
As far as the two companies are concerned, the bank statements don't show any collections or repayments.
Nor did Sahara submit proof of which assets it sold to raise the 25,000 crores to pay back its investors.
By going through the documents which are on record, they claim before the Supreme Court that all this money was invested in certain assets of Sahara Group companies, in partnership firms, in entities, in properties in Ambi Valley and so on. So investments, a statement was given to the Supreme Court that they've invested about 24,000 crores in various companies. Now subsequently there is no evidence or no information given to SEBI as to whether they have sold those assets. We don't know whether they have sold it at all. But now they claim that they have refunded the money.
It would involve selling off or disposing of a very large chunk of assets to raise 20,000 or 25,000 crores.
Undoubtedly.
And that has happened, you're saying, with all responsibility?
Realizations have taken place and the monies have come in and the monies have been utilized for the purpose of making redemptions.
Now, in its latest letter filed before the Security Tribunal just 10 days ago on the 19th of March, of which NDTV has an exclusive copy, Sahara did a U-turn, saying that all the money was not just raised by Sahara India, but it was paid back by Sahara India as well. The letter says that the receipts on behalf of these two Sahara companies were issued by Sahara India. The redemption payments to the investors have also been made in the same manner through Sahara India, and therefore the redemptions are reflected in the books of Sahara India.
The payments are fully reflected in the bank account of Sahara India, and the flow of funds which has come in by way of investments and which has left the system by way of redemptions are all fully capable of being established.